You didn't come into this world empty. You arrived carrying infinite power. And before you could even speak, the world pulled off the greatest heist of your life. They stole your identity. They buried your inner resources. And they replaced them with one poisonous idea. You are not enough. From that moment forward, you were programmed to chase, run, hustle, compete, fear falling behind. The perfect puppet for a world built on psychological control. But what if I told you the real prison isn't out there? It's inside you. You were born whole, complete, untouched. But then came the conditioning. Subtle at first, then relentless. Commercials, school, culture, family, religion. Every message whispering the same threat. You're missing something, and we can sell it to you. That's how the Matrix traps you. Not with metal machines, but with beliefs. The moment you search outside yourself, the game is already rigged. They don't need to imprison you. They just need you to keep chasing. Time isn't just a clock, it's a weapon. What if I run out? What if I fail? What if it's too late? These thoughts hijack your nervous system, forcing you into a panic-driven existence. You don't live, you sprint toward a future that never arrives, away from a past that won't let go. And all the while, the present, your only real moment of power, is stolen from you. This is how you get trapped in the loop. Repeat, repeat, repeat. Different years, same patterns, same wounds, same story. Time becomes your warden, and you become its prisoner. You think your goals are yours? Look closer. They were planted. The rush to beat traffic, the panic when you're behind, the obsessive pursuit of success, all engineered. You've been conditioned to equate movement with meaning, so you never question who benefits from all your chasing. Because if you ever stop long enough to examine the truth, the illusion would collapse. The game isn't about winning, it's about keeping you distracted. As long as you're chasing the carrot, you'll never notice the cage. Reality is the ultimate illusionist. It stands in front of you every day, pretending to be solid, predictable, logical. Yet behind the curtain, it behaves nothing like what we're taught. We call this place the real world, but physics calls it something else entirely. A probability field, a hologram of information, a malleable construct shaped by observation. Think about that. Reality doesn't exist until you look at it. And when you stop looking, it collapses back into pure potential. Meaning, the world you think is fixed is actually responding to your mind. But here's the twist. If your mind is imprisoned by fear, conditioning, and old identity, then the reality you experience will mirror that prison back to you over and over again until you mistake the cage for the truth. This is the uncomfortable paradox. Reality is both your jailer and your creation, both your mirror and your mask, both your limit and your liberation. Most people never see this because they're too busy surviving the illusion to question the architect behind it. Imagine someone who hates their job. Every morning they wake up dreading the day. They feel trapped, underpaid, overlooked, undervalued. From the outside, it looks like a career problem. But the deeper truth, their state of consciousness is scripting the entire experience. Because once they believe they're trapped, their mind goes into survival mode. They avoid opportunities. They downplay their strengths. They don't speak up in meetings. They expect rejection. So people subconsciously mirror it back. They don't notice openings that could change everything. Their inner world becomes the blueprint their outer world is forced to follow. Then they say, "See, nothing changes. This is just my reality." But it's not reality. It's a reflection of their frequency. And here's the plot twist. The moment their inner state shifts, the moment they decide, I refuse to live like this anymore. The entire environment around them begins to rearrange. New opportunities appear. People treat them differently. They get unexpected calls. Doors open that were always there but invisible until their awareness matched them. This is the real danger of reality. You don't get the life you want. You get the reality you're tuned to. Silence isn't peaceful. Not at first. It's terrifying. Because silence is the one place you can't run from yourself. And that's exactly why the system works. So hard to make sure you never find it. Noise is the greatest weapon of control. News, notifications, deadlines, entertainment, opinions, comparison, infinite scrolling. Your attention is constantly pulled outward because the moment it turns inward, the illusion breaks. Silence exposes the truth, that the voice in your head isn't you, that the fears controlling you aren't yours, that the identity you've been protecting is nothing more than a psychological avatar you were programmed to play. Silence reveals the ugliest secret of all. Your suffering isn't coming from the world. It's coming from your thoughts about the world. And if your thoughts aren't you, then the prison was never real. This is why silence is dangerous. Not because it's empty, but because it is the one environment where the ego cannot hide. Your ego is not your enemy. It's your bodyguard. But the kind that doesn't realize the war ended years ago. It was built to protect you from humiliation, from rejection, from abandonment, from danger that may no longer exist. But there's a darker verite about the ego they don't teach in school. It would rather suffocate your evolution than risk its own death. Because the ego's existence depends on one thing: you believing the story, your name, your past, your failures, your identity, your trauma, polished and worn like jewelry. The ego clings to these narratives because they are its oxygen. Without them, it has no shape. So when you start waking up, when you start questioning the script, the ego panics. It starts whispering threats. Don't change. People won't like the new you. Stay small. Success is dangerous. Don't follow your purpose. You might fail. Don't let go. You'll lose everything. This is not guidance. It is self-preservation. Because the moment you stop believing the storyteller dies. And so the ego launches its final defense. Fear that feels like intuition. Doubt that feels like logic. Anxiety that feels like certainty. Familiar suffering that feels like safety. The ego will imprison you in a burning house if it means it doesn't have to let go. And yet, your liberation lives on the other side of the ego's funeral. Thoughts are not facts, they are waves. But because you grew up identifying with every thought that passed through your mind, you never realized something chilling. Most of your thoughts did not come from you. They came from parents, teachers, churches, systems, culture, media, trauma, and a collective unconscious that has been shaping human behavior for thousands of years. You're not thinking, you're echoing. And here's the tension you never felt. When you identify with a thought, you become its prisoner. Thought, I'm not enough. Prison. Thought, I'm scared to fail. Prison. Thought, I can't change. Prison. But the moment you detach, the moment you watch your thoughts like passing cars, a terrifying truth emerges. Your entire identity was built from thoughts you didn't choose. And when you stop feeding them, they begin to collapse. This is what awakening really is. Not light, not bliss. Not love and light, Instagram spirituality. Awakening is the violent dismantling of the false self you've been maintaining for decades. It's the moment you realize the dream self you've been defending was never you at all. It's the moment you look at your mind and, for the first time, see a stranger. Pause. Right now. Don't move. Feel that subtle pressure in your chest, that quiet tightness in your breath, that faint tremor in your stomach. That is the matrix losing control. Because for the first time in your life, you're not reacting, you're observing. You're stepping out of the loop, and the system feels it. Everything in your life is designed to keep you from this moment, this razor-thin slice of consciousness where the illusion begins to crack. This is not mindfulness. This is rebellion, because the present moment is the only place where the ego can't breathe and the system can't manipulate you. Here, right here, none of your worries exist. None of your identities matter. None of your fears have roots. But here's the metaphysical twist. The present moment isn't quiet. It's powerful, too powerful, because the present moment is where creation happens, instantly, silently, without effort. Every spiritual tradition, every mystic, every enlightened being has said the same thing in different words. Be still and know. Be busy. Be productive. Be worried. Be afraid. Be fast. Be anything except still. Why? Because stillness is the exit door. When you stop fighting the future and stop replaying the past and land fully in your now, the false self dissolves. The trauma loses its anchor. The fear loses its narrative. The ego loses its identity. And you lose the chains you never realized were on your wrists. This is the great escape, and the world will do everything to make sure you never find it. Because a person anchored in the present cannot be controlled, cannot be manipulated, cannot be enslaved by systems of fear. A person in the present becomes unpredictable, unstoppable, and ungovernable. The present is more dangerous than any rebellion, because the present is where you remember you were never trapped, only asleep. Most people never wake up, not because they're incapable, but because the world sedates them with a lifetime of distraction. But you're starting to see the cracks, the inconsistencies, the glitches, the quiet moments where something inside whispers, there's more than this. That whisper is the beginning of the end. Because once you hear it, you cannot unhear it. Here is the metaphysical truth the system prays you never discover. The world outside is not the cause. It is the projection. Your consciousness is the projector. Everything you fear is a shadow of your internal state. Everything you desire is a mirror of your suppressed potential. Everything you experience is a reflection of your identity. Change the inner world, and the outer world is forced to rearrange. This is the ultimate spiritual rebellion. Not fighting the world, not escaping the world, not conquering the world, but mastering the self so completely that the world can no longer shape you. Your inner frequency becomes your shield. Your awareness becomes your weapon. Your identity becomes your ultimate creation tool. Here is the part that breaks people. When you realize the world is a mirror, you must accept that every painful reflection was yours, not as punishment, as permission, as awakening, as initiation. You cannot fix a mirror by touching the reflection. And once you understand this, you stop fighting shadows and start changing the light source. That's the final reveal. You are not a character in the story of your life. You are the author, and you can rewrite the entire narrative the moment you stop believing the old one. Everything you ever wanted, peace, power, freedom, clarity, purpose, was never out there. It was locked behind the one door the world trained you never to open, yourself. And now that you've seen the truth, you can't go back to sleep. You're not supposed to, because awakened individuals don't fit into broken systems. They dismantle them quietly, gracefully, completely, and the world never sees it coming. There comes a moment in every story where the hero realizes that the thing they've been running from is the thing they needed to face all along. And maybe that's you, right now, sitting in the ruins of old identities, old fears, old stories that no longer fit, finally realizing the truth. The cage was never locked, and the key was never missing. You just hadn't looked in the right place. The systems outside you, the noise, the pressure, the expectations, they were never the real enemy. The real enemy was the part of you that believed them. Awakening. Your entire life, you were taught to outrun your pain, chase your dreams, prove your worth, fight your demons. But awakening isn't war. It's surrender. Not to the world, but to your own truth. The truth that you're not small, not broken, not lost, not behind, not powerless. You are the observer, the creator, the awareness behind the mask, the consciousness behind the story. And once you see that, even for a second, your old life cannot continue. Not the same way, not with the same beliefs, not with the same limits, because awakening is irreversible. You can't unsee your power. You can't unknow your depth. You can't unfeel the pull of who you were always meant to become. And now, the world is waiting, not for a new prophecy, not for a new system, not for a new savior. It's waiting for you, the real you, to step forward. The one who is no longer controlled by fear. The one who is no longer sleepwalking through life. The one who no longer confuses survival with destiny. You've crossed the threshold. You've seen behind the curtain. You've watched the illusion crumble. And now comes the part no one prepares you for. The part where you choose who you become next. Not the version shaped by your past. Not the version shaped by your wounds. Not the version shaped by your environment. But the version shaped by your knowing.